All right, so we got a ton of requests from you guys to do a deep dive into burnout.
The burnout. Yeah.
And look, I get it, right? I mean, who hasn't hit that wall where you're just completely drained? Like even sleep doesn't seem to help. We're talking about that kind of exhaustion.
Yeah, that deep exhaustion.
Exactly, where it's not just physical, right? It's like mentally, emotionally, you're just spent. So today we're going to tackle it head on. We've been digging through some really interesting discussions about, what burnout actually is, what causes it, and importantly, how to deal with it.
Yeah, how to actually do something about it. Because, you know, it's one thing to kind of know what it is, but then like, what do you do about it?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
that's the big question. And I think a lot of times people feel like, oh, I'm just tired. I just need a vacation. It's more than that.
Right, right. It's way more nuanced than that. I mean, think about it. Have you ever just felt that kind of like bone deep tiredness that just won't go away? And then maybe you start to notice that you're like not enjoying things as much. Things that you used to love. Those could be signs of burnout. It's kind of like it sneaks up on you.
It totally sneaks up on you. It's so sneaky.
Yeah, and that's why we want to unpack this whole thing for you. We want to go way beyond just like, oh, I'm tired. We want to look at what's really going on, with burnout. What are those deeper mechanisms? And crucially, what are some practical things you can actually start doing about it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so first things first. What exactly is burnout? It's got to be more than just being really tired, right?
Yeah, it's more than just needing an extra hour of sleep. It really is.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, one way to think about it is Christina Maslach. She's like a researcher who's done like a ton of work on burnout. She describes it as this kind of combination of three things: exhaustion, cynicism, and this feeling of like not being effective.
Okay, so it's not just physical, right? It's mental and emotional too.
Exactly, yeah. So like you're exhausted, but you're also kind of starting to feel negative about things. And then you start to feel like you're just not good at anything anymore.
Oh, wow. That's rough.
Yeah, it can be really, really tough. So some of the like everyday signs that you might notice in yourself could be things like brain fog. Like you just can't think straight.
Yeah, you're just kind of like in a haze.
Yeah, totally. Or maybe you're just like completely unmotivated. Even the smallest things feel like a huge effort.
Oh, I feel that. Like even getting out of bed feels like a chore.
Exactly. And then there's that kind of emotional detachment where you're just going through the motions. You're not really engaged with anything. And then, of course, there's the exhaustion.
That like deep, deep exhaustion.
Yeah, where you sleep for like 10 hours and you still wake up feeling like a zombie.
It's almost like you're running on autopilot, but the pilot's asleep and the plane's on fire,
Yeah.
Like you're just going through the motions, but everything's a mess.
That's such a good analogy. I love that.
So the thing is, with burnout, it doesn't just hit you all at once, right? It kind of creeps up on you.
It's so sneaky. It really is. It's like one day you're fine, and then the next day you're like, wait, what happened?
Right. And that's why it can be so hard to recognize in yourself. It's like you're just pushing through, adapting, and telling yourself, oh, it's just a busy period. But really, you're getting more and more drained without even realizing what's causing it.
Yeah, it's like those camels, right? They can carry a lot of weight, but eventually that one extra straw breaks their back.
That's a perfect analogy. And so we need to figure out what those straws are, right? What are the things that are really pushing us towards burnout?
Exactly. And I think one of the biggest ones, the one everyone always talks about, is work overload.
Yeah, I mean, who hasn't felt that, right? Like you're constantly drowning in to-dos, always playing catch up. But it's not just about the amount of work, is it? It's also about that whole work-life balance thing, or lack thereof, I should say.
Yeah, that's a huge one. You see these like romanticized versions of work-life balance in movies and TV shows. People who are like killing it in their careers and also have amazing social lives and hobbies, and it's all like effortless.
Right. They're like baking bread from scratch and training for a marathon, all while closing million-dollar deals.
Exactly. But like for most of us, that's just not realistic. And then we get caught in this trap of like checking emails after dinner, and then suddenly it's midnight and we're still working.
Yeah, it's like you're always on, right? The boundaries just get blurred.
Yeah, totally. And another thing that can really contribute to burnout is lack of recognition.
Mm.
When you're putting in the effort, working hard, but you just don't feel valued or appreciated for it.
Ugh, yeah. That's the worst. It's like you're the Wi-Fi. Everyone uses it, but they only notice when it's not working.
I love that analogy. That's so true.
It's like you're constantly giving, but you're not getting anything back.
Yeah.
And that can be so draining.
Yeah, for sure. It's like you're pouring from an empty cup. And then there's the pressure we put on ourselves, those unrealistic expectations.
Oh, yeah, those are killers. The higher you set the bar, the harder it is to reach it.
Right.
And then you just end up feeling like you're never good enough.
Totally. And it doesn't help that we're constantly bombarded with images of people who seem to be, like, effortlessly achieving everything.
Right. It's that whole social media comparison thing. You see people like traveling the world, launching businesses, looking perfect all the time, and it makes you feel like you should be doing more.
Yeah, it's a recipe for feeling inadequate. And speaking of environments, let's not forget about the impact of toxic environments.
Yeah.
Being around negative people, dealing with constant drama, that can really take a toll.
Oh, absolutely. It's like you're absorbing all that negativity without even realizing it. It's like instead of toxic being this catchy Britney Spears song, it's like this dark cloud that's constantly raining on you.
Ah, that's a good one.
So we've talked about all these things that contribute to burnout. Now, the big question is, what can we actually do about it?
Right, because knowing about it is only half the battle.
Exactly. So where do we even begin?
Okay, so the first thing, and I think this is the most important thing, is to prioritize rest. Like real rest. Not just scrolling through your phone until you fall asleep.
Okay, so what does real rest actually look like?
It means actually giving your brain a break. Turning off those notifications, stepping away from the screens, and just letting your mind unwind.
So like actually disconnecting.
Yeah, exactly. It could be something as simple as going for a walk in nature, reading a book, or even just sitting in silence for a few minutes.
So it's about being intentional, right? About actively creating space for yourself to recharge.
Exactly. And it might feel weird at first, especially if you're used to being constantly on, but trust me, it makes a huge difference.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about when work just feels relentless? Like, you have deadlines and responsibilities and it feels like you can't afford to take a break.
That's where setting boundaries comes in. You need to learn to say no, even when it feels hard.
Oh, I struggle with that one.
I think a lot of us do. But the thing is, there's this myth that saying no makes you look lazy or unproductive. But actually, it's the opposite. When you're burnt out, you make mistakes, you're less efficient.
So you're actually more productive when you take breaks.
Exactly. Setting boundaries is about protecting your energy so you can do your best work. It's about working smarter, not harder.
I like that, working smarter, not harder. So what are some ways to do that, to work smarter?
One thing I love is the Pomodoro technique. Have you heard of that?
I have, but I've never actually tried it. What's the gist?
Basically, you work in focused bursts, like 25 minutes, and then you take a short break, like 5 minutes. And you just repeat that cycle throughout the day.
So it's kind of like interval training for your brain?
Exactly.
Mm.
And it really works. It keeps you from getting mentally exhausted, and it helps you stay focused. So you end up getting more done in less time.
Okay, I'm definitely going to try that. So we've talked about rest. We've talked about boundaries. What else can we do to combat burnout, especially in our personal lives?
This is where self-care comes in. But I'm not talking about the kind of self-care where you just like scroll through Instagram for hours.
Right, the kind of self-care that actually makes you feel worse.
Exactly. Real self-care is about doing things that you genuinely enjoy, things that make you feel relaxed and recharged.
So, like, what are some examples?
It could be anything, really. Like spending time in nature, listening to music, taking a bath, reading a book, whatever brings you joy and helps you de-stress.
Okay, so it's about being intentional and choosing activities that actually nourish you.
Yes, exactly. But sometimes, even with all of these things, burnout can feel really deep.
Hmm.
Like you've tried all the self-care tips, you're setting boundaries, you're resting, but you still feel stuck.
So what do you do then?
That's when it might be time to consider professional help. Talking to a therapist, a counselor, or even a career coach. Sometimes you just need an outside perspective.
Mm. And there's no shame in asking for help.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
It's a sign of strength, actually.
Yeah.
Recognizing that you need support and reaching out for it is huge.
Totally. Okay, and what about connecting with other people? How important is that in dealing with burnout?
It's super important. Humans are social creatures.
Mhm.
We need connection. And when we're feeling burnt out, it's easy to isolate ourselves.
Oh, yeah. I do that all the time. I just want to, hide away from the world.
Yeah, I get it. But actually, that can make things worse. Talking to friends, family, or even colleagues can really help.
It's like that free therapy thing, right? Like just venting to someone who gets it.
Exactly. And sometimes, just hearing that other people going through similar things can make you feel less alone. There are also lots of great online and in-person groups focused on work-life balance and burnout. Connecting with others who understand what you're going through can be so validating and empowering.
So, to recap, burnout is basically long-term stress that's completely drained you, right? And it's not just about being tired, it affects you mentally and emotionally too. And the key is to prioritize rest, set boundaries, and not be afraid to ask for help.
You got it. And remember, taking breaks, setting those boundaries, that's not being lazy. It's actually essential for your well-being and your productivity.
Right. It's about being proactive and taking care of yourself. And if you're feeling really burnt out, don't suffer in silence. Okay. Reach out to someone, talk to a friend, a family member, a therapist, whoever you feel comfortable with.
Suffering alone is so overrated, I agree.
Okay, so let's wrap this up for you guys. Burnout isn't just about feeling a little tired, it's a much bigger deal. It comes from prolonged stress, and it can impact you in a lot of ways. But the good news is that there are things you can do about it.
Exactly. Remember, rest, boundaries, self-care, and support are your superpowers in the fight against burnout.
Yeah, those are your tools, and don't be afraid to use them. Now, as you're listening to this, think about what that one straw is in your life, that one thing that's really stressing you out. And ask yourself, what's one small step you can take this week to either eliminate it or at least make it a little less heavy?
Sometimes it's the small steps that make the biggest difference.
Absolutely. It's about making those little changes that add up over time. And you deserve to feel good, to feel energized, and to enjoy your life. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.